Alright guys, in this video I'm going to react to the Week 8 AP Poll Top 25. So my first impressions, there are definitely some things wrong with this list. Look at the number 8 team on the AP Poll Top 25 for Week 8. There sits Notre Dame. Now, what clown has Notre Dame as the number 18 over Georgia? All the Georgia loss did was make Notre Dame look bad. That's all it did. What is Notre Dame doing at number 8 and Georgia doing at number 10? If anything, it should be flipped. Because if I recall, Georgia beat Notre Dame by a touchdown. I know it was home, but Georgia also fumbled a punt inside the 8 that handed Notre Dame another touchdown that took him 4th and goal. So Georgia basically won this game by 2 touchdowns. And you're going to tell me that Georgia and Notre Dame both have a loss. Georgia basically beat them by 2 touchdowns. And you're going to tell me Notre Dame is 8 and Georgia's 10? What clowns made this poll, man? That's like the most basic thing there is when you have a head-to-head and one team won. Like, dude. And if you say, oh, Georgia just looked bad, well, that makes Notre Dame look bad. South Carolina came into Athens like Notre Dame did, but South Carolina beat Georgia and looked better than Notre Dame did. So an unranked South Carolina team looks better than a Notre Dame team. That's what I'm seeing. So if anything, that hurts Notre Dame way worse than it does Georgia because South Carolina did something they didn't do. So Notre Dame, what are you doing at number 8? That's my first impression. Now everything else, there's a couple things I would change. Alabama number 1, I would not change. They are scoring 50 points on anyone, doesn't matter who they are. LSU is doing much of the same, and they're going to square off eventually. So let's just leave that how it is. Ohio State has definitely looked better than Clemson, but it doesn't even really matter because if Clemson and Ohio State both went out, they're both going to be in the college football playoffs, so that doesn't really matter. But personally, I would have Ohio State 3 and Clemson 4. Oklahoma just had a good one over Texas. I'd agree with that. So the top 5, good. Wisconsin at 6, I'd agree with that. They've been pretty dominant all year. Penn State at 7, I guess because they're, the only undefeated team? But, I mean, any good team they've played, they haven't, no. Northwestern, they didn't score much, and this last week against Iowa, they didn't score much. So their offense hasn't been doing good, at all against good teams. But because they're undefeated and they beat Iowa, sure, it's okay to have Penn State at 7. But Notre Dame at 8, please move. That's god-awful. Now Florida, they beat Auburn. And Georgia's at 10. Now the ranking of that, honestly, pretty much everyone thought Georgia was a top 3, 4 team. But they could not hit the broadside of a barn. And the receivers, South Carolina just played man-to-man coverage and no one could get open at all. So that's that. Would I have Georgia over Florida? I don't know. I don't think it matters because just like a lot of these other teams, Georgia and Florida are going to play. Same with Georgia and Auburn. Auburn's at 11. So it's going to shake itself out. But honestly, right now, I'd have Florida over Georgia, like the AP poll does. I'd have Florida at 8, Georgia at 9, and Auburn at 10. Oregon at 11, and Notre Dame at 12. That's how I'd rearrange it probably. But Florida beat Auburn, but they really just looked okay doing it. Their defense looked really good. But then the one thing they're supposed to be good at, defense, is what they didn't do good against LSU. So maybe that's not their strong suit. Maybe Auburn wasn't that good. It'll shake itself out. But I would definitely not have Notre Dame in the top 10 because South Carolina was 2 and 3, came in there and beat Georgia, so that makes them look terrible because they went into Athens and lost. So I think Georgia has as much talent holistically as any team in the country. But if you watch the Georgia-South Carolina game, Georgia either ran it up the middle or threw the ball deep. or try to do some route. It's like, dude, if they just did some misdirection, fake it that way, go this way, just loosens up the defense. But no, run up the middle. Um, yeah, I'd have Florida over Georgia. Really, you could say Auburn's over Georgia because Auburn's defense, and they haven't lost to South Carolina, an unranked team, and Auburn lost to Florida. Yeah, that's how I do it. Auburn would be over Georgia too. Same with Florida, but Georgia will play both of them, so it doesn't really matter. Um, yeah, that's my reaction to the AP poll top 25 week 8. Thanks for watching.